You
Welcome
can.
back to the Siobhan Lou Show. This is called Conversations with Tom. So the last show we did together was the most listened to show. I think it's because we talked about psychedelics, or people like listening to us talk about our relationship. It's one. Maybe it's both. It's one or the other. So welcome back.
Thank you, Siobhan. It's nice to talk to you from the other room.
I know. Well, if you're not watching this, but if you're listening, we're in the same house, but in separate rooms because Zoom just works better these days for podcasting. Probably should have set up next to each other, but this is what we're used to.
This is how we do it.
I know. So, what's the update with you?
Well, the new book just came out, finally. But according to you, I still need to do more marketing.
Yeah, you're not told anyone. Let's tell everyone about the new book.
Yeah, the new book is the book that I started writing when we were living in Bali. All about identity and purpose and meaning, because all of that stuff that I was going through at the time, we both went through stuff at the time. And the stuff for me was struggling with existentialism, struggling with understanding who I was, who I could and couldn't be, the aspects of my childhood that have made me who I was at the time and who I am today, and how all that fits in and makes me someone who I ultimately want to be and want to become. So I was looking at all these ideas based upon very old religious stories, spiritual teachings, psychology, narrative therapy and mythology, and trying to understand how human beings cultivate identity. And it really helped me at the time because I wanted to be an AFL player. I wanted to be a CrossFit coach and then a CrossFit athlete. And then my knee kept playing on me and we moved to Bali. So I realized that my love for our relationship and where we were going was stronger than my very old need to be someone who, was identified by their athleticism, and moving away from that was really difficult for me. And I was, it was a bit traumatic, I suppose, because I thought I was going to be a specific someone, for my whole life. And then now that I was moving more into writing and things, I was just changing, and that change was helped by writing this book. And there's a lot of personal insights there. Like when we were hanging out with Eva and she was the happiest person in the world. She's such a legend.
So happy. I miss her. We'll send her the show just so she knows we miss her. And yeah. Eva was someone that worked with us in Bali. She wasn't born in Bali though, was she? She was born.
She's Indonesian. I don't think she was born on the island. She can speak Bahasa. Yeah. And she can speak Balinese, obviously. Yeah. But so many of those people taught me so many things about what it meant to be me and more about what it meant to be a human, because, I've grown up in Melbourne. It's a very, very fortunate place to grow up. Went to a great school, had a great upbringing with my parents and things, and people aren't so fortunate, I think, that fall into what it really means to be human and how we have evolved to struggle, and that's what builds purpose into our lives, the moving between point A and point B. That's the real struggle, and that's what gives us identity. And I feel like you need that struggle. I think like the greatest lesson and teaching that I got from that book was that writing was actually the thing I was looking for to give my meaning whilst I was trying to find meaning. So there's a lot of irony there, but also how important it is to have responsibilities and routines and struggles, because that's the shit that really makes life worthwhile. You and I talk about this all the time, but I needed to learn that lesson through reading.
You did. Yeah. And now you're sharing it with the world.
You learned this from a very young age.
What?
Struggle, meaning, moving home, getting a job.
Yeah, it's true. I moved out of home when I was 15, 16? And then obviously had to pay bills straight away. I mean, I was working, my mom just told me my first job was when I was 12 and I was working at a bed and breakfast, because she's like, well, if you want something like this, if you want something bigger than what's possible, then you got to earn it, sort of thing. So yeah, my first job at 12, and then I'm still working, well, now I'm really fortunate that I have my own business, but yeah, responsibility from such a young age. And then moving out when I was 16, I went traveling when I was 18 and, just went to the States by myself, didn't know anyone or anything. And just applied to work on this ranch as a wrangler, they called it. I was basically a horse riding instructor when I was 18. and went there, and it was, amazing. And that was responsibility as well, traveling, arranging everything, messaging and emailing people from the other side of the world. You couldn't stalk them on Instagram back then. So yeah, it was incredible. Yeah. So I learned that from a super young age. And then obviously I moved to Bali twice by myself. I did 2 6-month stints there, and managing a gym by myself and living by myself in a random villa.
You've always been someone, we've been dating now for nearly 4 years. Well, just over 3.5 years. So not nearly 4 years, but a while now, enough to know each other. We've been friends for a year before that.
Yeah.
You've always been someone who, if you want something, sometimes I, have a go at you for this because sometimes I think you're too individualistic and you find it hard to rely on others, and you don't have to rely entirely on other people, but you've always been so, if I want something, I need to go out and make it happen. And I just think that's a lovely quality. It's so inspiring for me to be around someone like that, because it reminds me constantly that, like we have on our bathroom mirror, everything is a choice, and you can be entirely responsible for creating the kind of life that you want to live. And what a blessing that is.
Yeah, it's true. I actually talked about that with Anna this morning on my Instagram live. I was telling her how I did actually. I'm going to take credit for it. I put post-its up in our bathroom mirror. And one of them is, everything is a choice. And that was something I got from a Jim Quick podcast. I think he was on Lewis House. And he was saying what's, between, what was it? Was it B and D, like birth and death, and the letter C? And it was choices. And your life is like, everything is a choice. So everything you decide is your fault. And I think that's so perfect. I mean, one thing we both, I won't say the word hate, but it's pretty close, is people playing the victim card. It's like, we're very much into responsibilities and everything is your choice. I mean, I get it. There's situations where there's not, but it's your choice to heal and it's your choice to work around that, but it's on, the reason it's on our bathroom is so we realize that every single day it's like, well, do you finish the day being like, that was an amazing day. I did everything I wanted to. I had fun, whatever your goal is for that day. Because everything is your choice, in that day. So if you get to the end of the day, it's like, it was the same routine and the same thing. It's like, but that was your choice. You have responsibilities, but you also have a lot of time in a day to do the things you want as well.
Yeah. And I also think it's worthwhile stating that it's easy for us to fall into that victim mentality. I wouldn't necessarily say I hate people who play the victim card, because I have played it myself so many times, and even just in little ways, it comes up all the time in the day to day. We can make excuses for ourselves, we can justify things that we really should take responsibility for. And sometimes, I'm preaching to the choir here as someone who teaches meditation and the ability to create space and stillness. Upon reflection, we see that those moments where we could have taken responsibility would have alleviated a lot of the suffering that we decided to go through, because we prefer to blame someone else in that time to alleviate all the pain that we really should be feeling, because that is going to help us grow and adapt. So the victim card and the victim mentality, is within all of us. And it's just what it means to be human. We're sensitive to negativity. We're sensitive to having the spotlight on us, because we've evolved to be reputable and fit in, as opposed to standing out. So all these things are difficult for ourselves individually to overcome, but it certainly helps when you can take responsibility for little things to begin with. My upbringing was so different to yours. We often joke about this, but as I started to get older, I started to see that, a lot of the anxiety that I was struggling with at the time could have been resolved when I started doing things that were difficult that actually helped me feel more proud of myself. And I really do believe that confidence is something that is earned throughout the day, and self-esteem is something that's earned throughout the day. Because I'm not going to feel very good about myself if I have a list of to-dos and by the end of the day, I've just sat in front of Netflix all day. You can do that every now and then, but weeks and weeks and weeks of that, I'm going to start to feel pretty shitty. So that's one thing that I think when people talk about, you are enough and all this, you're worthy, I totally agree. And I understand what that means, but for the day-to-day things, I like to take on the view that maybe sometimes I'm not worthy to feel good about myself if I've been eating shit for the past 3 weeks. I haven't moved and I haven't, achieved anything that I would like to achieve, because I know that at the end of the day, when I do that, it makes me feel really good about myself. Yeah. And that's when you know that I feed my good feelings with food. So I like to go out on dates and eat shitty food because I emotionally eat everyone. That's what I do.
He does. It's very, very cute. But yeah, speaking of like the self-worth and I'm enough, that's also how there's like a whole list of things underneath that, like how you talk to yourself, and you like, we said this morning, like, would you talk to your nieces or nephews the way you talk to yourself? Or would you talk to your inner child the way you talk to yourself? There's like a whole kind of group thing underneath it. And also the same thing we said about like doing all the stuff to make you worthy. But there's a balance between that and rest and play as well. We're also brought up in a society where doing is rewarded and you should do this and do that. But I also said, again, when I'm resting and not doing anything, that's when my creativity comes through. That's when I feel more energized to actually do and take action. So there is that balance between, oh yeah, you got to do shit to make yourself feel worthy, but you also have to, rest and have that balance of playing and doing stuff for fun as well.
Yeah, and celebrating the wins, which is something that we both struggle with.
I know. I said that again this morning to Anna. I was like, we are not a good combination of people together because we both really struggle with rest. Like we have to block out the whole of Sunday to make sure we don't do anything. And literally 9 times out of 10, we both work on that day. It's ridiculous. We're so bad at it. We try really hard and it'll get to like 4 p.m. and it's like, oh, I could just reply to this email. It'll take me 2 seconds. And then it ends up being like 2 hours of us both just working. It's crazy. But, we're trying. We're really trying. But we know it's like, it's a weakness. We need to learn to do fuck all on a Sunday and be okay with that. But we're just not.
Yeah. And we're very fortunate because we love what we do,
Yeah,
I think I find it a hell of a lot easier to rest if I hated my job.
So that's so true, actually. Like we both are obsessed with our jobs and what we do, and we're really passionate about it. But at the same time, like you've got to let that rest and creativity, and you've got to let things flow themselves. You can't be on all the time. Like it's not healthy. But I've definitely been in jobs where I'm like, I'm happy to do nothing.
Yeah, true. I've never seen you take to a job like you have taken to breathwork. You are so obsessed with it in a good way. No, obsessed is a bad word. Devoted. I think you can look at addiction in positive and negative ways. The negative side of addiction is obsession. The positive side of addiction is devotion. And you absolutely love it. From the moment you did it, you're just like, why doesn't everyone know about this? The transformation you had. I just find it so interesting that you tell me about all these clients, and there is confidentiality, guys. She doesn't mention the names or the specific.
No, I just say the amazing stories.
Yeah. And it just reminds me of the first, second, and third time that you did it, and the amount of change you went through then and the amount of awareness you took from that,
Yeah, I actually want to talk about that. So again, I keep referring to the conversation with Anna this morning, but it was just incredible. Anyway, I said to Anna this morning, we were talking about how people find it hard to say no, and how we've been in relationships where, your relationships, you kind of like attract your parents, or it's like similar cycles. And obviously I used to find it hard to really say no to like my dad and in previous relationships. And I was the same with you in the first probably year of our relationship. And then it got to like my 3rd breathwork session and I was like, we need to talk.
I know, you sat me down.
And I was like, I literally sat you down. I can't remember the conversation because I was actually still going through my whole depression and, just feeling like absolute shit. I just hated Bali, hated my job. But I remember it coming through in the breath work being like, you need to say like no to Tom and no to stuff you don't want to do. And, you need to tell him that you want to leave Bali, whether he comes or not, like you're going sort of thing. Like it was so strong. That realization. And I said it to you and you just like appreciated me so much more for saying it. Like it was crazy, but I wasn't afraid to say it. I was like, this is just what needs to happen. I'm in like the shittiest place I've ever been in my whole life. This needs to change.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's important to say like, at least I don't think I was ever coercively controlling you in the first year of our relationship or anything.
Oh no, I just was like, I was indecisive, I wasn't.
It was
like Yeah.
I was indecisive as well. And I think my anxiety around being unable to understand where I want to go as well was placing a kind of demand on you, which made it difficult for you to say because you think about all the times in the first part of our relationship, and, it was, my thing was anxiety and fear, and that played out as a, need to control situations and myself, because obviously the opposite of instability and anxiety is control and stability. So control was really important for me at the time, and I really struggled to let go with things because, what would it mean? And whenever it was like, I really think we should do this, it probably came across as it's very difficult for Tom to hear any other side of things, so everyone has their baggage, and we had ours, and it was just amazing. Yeah. But as you say, I loved hearing the truth come through. It was amazing. It was a beautiful moment.
Yeah. And that was all because of one session of breath work, like one session. And I just had all these realizations and about using my voice and saying no and to stop saying sorry all the time, another thing we talked about this morning. But yeah, it was just so powerful, that one session. And it changed like our relationship. Breath work has completely changed our relationship, even from you doing it, like from both of us doing it. It's been such a powerful healing tool for both of us. But the other thing we actually wanted to talk about on the show, which is like a really good kind of way to roll into this, is us going to couples therapy and how incredible it was and how much we love it. And we find it really funny how people, some people obviously do, but most people like don't want to talk about it or they shy away from it. But we just like froth it so much that like I tell all my community about it and, share who our therapist was. And like we look for an excuse to go back there because we just think it's so fun. I think it's because we both love working on ourselves and we see the benefits of it. But I also feel like bringing two humans together, how is that not going to be complicated or bring up stuff? Like how do you expect to kind of work that out by yourselves without having like that third person, which we needed someone there to be like that middle, what would you call it? Like the moderator. Yeah. Someone in between us, because, we're very like opinionated and strong, kind of passionate people. And we would just go around in circles when we argued and they just got insane. But we knew we both had valid points, but we just got nowhere with them. So it wasn't as if they were arguments where we're like, well, I don't want to be with him anymore. I don't want to be with her. It was more like, fuck, like this just keeps going in circles. We're actually getting no answers with this. But then having that middle person and going to couples therapy was just, I loved it. I look forward to every session, like coming out of there. I'm like, yeah, this is so cool. And this is our homework. And I'm so excited. I actually think you were quite drained by it at the end of every session.
I was drained. But I think I was drained because I was just, a lot of stuff was coming up, but it was so great, and one of the things that we wanted to talk about in terms of that, and this is by no means something that we figured out. We just follow people that are all about this, and we love following the Gottman Institute for for couples relationships and all that kind of thing. And I just think that if you really value something, you want to protect it, and a way to protect it is constantly looking after it, like watering a garden, and for something that I'm really into right now is jiu-jitsu. And I, it's not the be all and end all of wanting to get a black belt around my waist or anything, but it is the be all and end all for me to want to improve and learn and get better over time. Otherwise, what am I doing? Just in the same ways with our relationship, I would like to think that it's even better in 5 years. And the only way that's going to happen is if we get that feedback and if we remain humble enough to go and listen and learn and understand each other's viewpoints and all that kind of thing. So there's a really unfortunate stigma around relationship and therapy and couples counseling, because people view that as, if you have to go to therapy, well, that obviously means that you guys are struggling.
Yeah.
Well, you're only struggling if you think that your relationship was perfect to begin with. Because if it wasn't perfect to begin with, well, then you're improving. But if it was perfect and then you're having to speak to someone, well, then it's struggling. But no relationship is perfect to begin with. Nothing by definition is perfect. And I'm so pumped that we did that. And like you said, you know, I love the idea of going again, just to see how we can be better, because it's fun, you know. And I think it was difficult for me anyway. I won't speak on your behalf, but it was difficult for me in the beginning because I knew that, you know, one of the reasons why I love being with you is because you won't ever say something unless you really do believe that to be true. And I figured that out from you when we were friends. I knew that was the kind of person you were, whereas I talk to figure things out.
Yeah, we're both different in that respect, and that's where we kind of clash.
Exactly right. That's one of our things. Exactly. So, you know, I knew going into couples counseling that it wasn't just Tom's right and Siobhan needs to see that. It was, I really do believe that I have valid understanding of my own experience and what's going on in the relationship. But the difficult part for me was I also knew that was true from your side of things. So I found it very difficult to walk that line of where am I wrong and where is Siobhan right? Or is it possible that we're both right here and we both just have egotistical baggage that's clashing because we've just moved in and we have to get a visa within 3 months, but we don't even really know if we love each other and want to spend the rest of our lives together, but we're making all these commitments, you know? So I just think that it's inevitable. And if you want to work on something, you know, you need to get better at it. And that's, you know, there's no reason why a relationship should be any different.
Yeah, it's true. Well, you're just bringing two completely different lives together. You know, it's just, I feel like when it's, like if you're like brother and sister and you grow up, they don't fucking get on all the time. It's the same as a relationship. But the thing with couples therapy, like how glad are you that we did it in like, what was it, the first year or the second year that we did it? Like we literally got all our shit, most of our shit, probably all of it sorted out in the first like year of our relationship. You know, like why wouldn't you want to get it done like so early so you can kind of be like, oh yeah, well, we've kind of figured this out, instead of waiting 20 years down the line where resentment, which is going to break you up, let's face it, resentment is just such a killer, you know, because you're just getting it all out in that first kind of year. That's when all the stuff comes up. But I also think it's really important that you work on yourself first individually, and then you heal as a couple. We kind of did it backwards. We worked as a couple and then we dealt with our own shit afterwards. But I think it's because we recognized the stuff we had to work on individually through couples counseling. So I guess you could do it the other way as well. But I just think working on your own stuff is so important when you come together with someone. And also, I always see like a lot of quotes and a lot of things of people saying, you know, you have to heal yourself and heal yourself first before you get into a relationship. Bullshit. We forced ourselves to heal each other. Like we were mirroring each other and we were bringing up each other's stuff constantly, which forced us to look at our stuff and work on it. Like it's just so much bullshit when I see that quote. I'm like, whatever. Like if I didn't meet you, I would have never worked on my stuff. I would have never looked at myself. We would have never brought up like how I couldn't say no and how I couldn't use my voice and where my life path was going. Like I was forced to look at all that stuff.
Without resistance, there's no need to adapt.
Yeah, and, exactly.
I'm so far from healed. I don't even use that word because I'm just like, shit triggers me all the time. You know,
it's a constant journey.
And I agree. I agree because I certainly don't agree with that. Heal. I just think there's so much baggage to that word heal, you know, healing yourself. You know, it's like we're going to be cooked for the rest of our lives. It's part of being human. You know,
what else would you call it? Because it's a healing journey. I don't like the word. I say it though, but like working on yourself, because then it's like, oh, I have to work on myself. Like, you know, there's no like, exactly. Like no one's broken. We're not faulty. You're just like improving. I don't know. Like what? But then does that mean you're wrong or faulty? You're just. It's a healing. I think healing is a more lovely word because. It's better than
really.
No,
I agree.
So unless you come up with a word, Tom, then share it with us.
I often find it difficult. I wrote in one of my books, could have been the third one actually, that I tried to find that balance. Like, how could I write a sentence that perfectly balanced loving who I am whilst also recognizing the need to change and improve and grow, you know? And I wrote it as loving who I'm becoming. So I love the process and I love the journey. But I certainly agree that I wouldn't be as aware, I suppose, of how my childhood molded me and who I want to be and all that kind of stuff without our relationship. I didn't even see like that. Relationships are a beautiful way to grow and learn more about yourself, because every time I say something, I'm getting 24/7 feedback from you. And, what do I want to do? Do I just want to have the same fight every day? Or do I want to use you, apart from, in this context, I suppose, as a way to understand myself clearer? Because I'm turning 28 in 6 weeks. So that means that if I live a good life, I'll have 60 years left. And I don't want to have the same conversation every day, let alone for the next 60 years. I'd like to really, really have a ride here. I just don't have the time for that. I don't want to have the time for that, So I think relationships are a great way to learn more about yourself. But like you said, you said before, do some work on yourself first. I know what you mean. And can I put words in your mouth? Do you mean, I think, be doing the stuff you need to be doing, but if a relationship comes along, jump into that and also use that relationship as a way to grow as well.
Yep. 100% for sure. And no one, I think people always look for that perfect person or, someone that has the whole. You found him. You found him. That's why we went to therapy, Tom. You just. What was the quote I said to Ashley? What was it? Because it was really good. It would be good to share. Remember I said it to you and you're like, that is such a good way to look at it. Find someone you like the most or put up with the most and then work through your shit with them because it's just pick someone that you like the most because you're going to have to work through all your stuff with someone anyway. So you might as well just pick someone that you really love being with the most. And if you haven't found them yet, that's fine. But when you do, you're going to have to work through the stuff with them anyway.
Yeah. Pick, like I think you should pick a job, pick a job you hate the least.
Yes. Or hate the least. I hate the least. Like the most.
That's a terrible way to view that. I would never say, Siobhan's just the one that I hated the least. I would never think that.
Yeah. Say like the most.
If you look at it like that though, but if you say like the most, then you're always doomed to be upset by those expectations not being met. That's why I hate the least, because if you hate the least, then it's that they're going to be faulty, but it's fine because you don't mind that the least,
Okay.
That's why I'm with you. That's why I'm with you.
We'll have different points on it, but whatever.
Right. Yeah. And at the end of the day, pick someone that makes you laugh.
Yeah, exactly. You can have fun with.
Yeah. And force you to get 11 beagles.
I know. 2. They're fucking the best thing ever. And that's the thing. We look after them. I do. Really, really well.
We'll have to edit that bit out.
No, keep it in there.
Right. Hey, I took him out for a piss before.
Anyway, we look at looking after them or looking after your kids, look after yourself. That's basically the thing. That's the message.
Do you think though that we're a bit ignorant because we don't have kids yet?
In terms of what? We were a kid though.
We know. Next question. No, I mean, as in do you think we're perhaps a bit ignorant because, we could say something like, make sure you make yourself happy first, but then people say that when you have kids, that's all down the drain. It's just 24/7 kids.
I don't know what you mean though. I don't think, do you mean that you have to be happy to have them or you have to be happy in yourself? I don't get it.
Okay. So I believe, right, that even when you have kids, you should still do things that make you happy, or you shouldn't let your kids do things that you don't like because, as you said before, then resentment will build. And I probably take a very individualistic stance with life, where it's if you're not in it for any particular reason, then why are you in it? I know why I want kids. And I know that when I want kids, when we have kids, it'll be a thing of there is a selfish part in this for me. And that creates the selflessness, you know. But you know how some people say, oh, when you have kids, you don't have any time for yourself anymore and all that kind of stuff. And how can you do things that you want to do because there's just no time anymore? Like, what would you say to that?
I don't know. Like, I'm selfish with my time, so I would try my best to create time. I'd look covered. I'm joking.
2 a.m.
Well, this is where you have like, this is why if you're, I mean, I can't speak for single parents. I kind of can because my mom was, and she did a fucking incredible job. But I feel like this is why you're in a partnership. So you have that kind of partnership to help with it. But I don't know, like it's really hard. I'm just a dog mom. And in terms of being a dog mom, you know, we take turns and doing whatever we need to do with the dogs. And we also make sure we have our own time. But I've also been told by friends who have children, they said, make sure you get every single thing done that you really want to do in life before you have them. And my fucking list is travel. And we can't travel.
I know.
It's just traveling. I want to travel, you know. But anyway,
want to go?
They'll have to wait until we can travel.
So you want to go to Italy? It's really just Italy, isn't it? If you do Italy, you'll be happy.
Well, I want to go to Ireland, you know, because my best friend's getting married. So I want to do that. But Italy is the top of the list. And it has been for ages. It's funny. I've pretty much done everywhere else in Europe. And the only place I want to go to is Italy. And no, I don't want to take my kids with me. I want to go by myself. And you. I want to go.
Are you talking about dogs?
I would take my dogs.
Isn't that interesting?
Dogs can absolutely come. Kids, no. Right. Look, you can leave the dogs at home while you go out for a drink.
True. But it is a conversation around, you know, because sometimes we need to force ourselves to do things that we want to do, you know, because after you tend to all of your responsibilities, you know, half the day goes by and you're absolutely buggered. It can take some motivation to get up and actually do things that we want to do had we not lost all that energy on looking after other people or after dogs, you know? So I just think you do have to do that. Even when you're really tired, you do have to put yourself first.
Yeah, well, this is why I keep telling you to look into human design, because I'm all about it, because I'm a generator in terms of human design. And they say that generators need to do things that just light them up all the time. So it needs to be like a full body yes all the time. So, you know, it's like, do I want sweet potato for dinner? If my body's like, yes, or make a sound like, then it's a yes, and I do it. So as a generator, you're kind of never drained. The only reason you're drained is if you're doing shit that you don't like or you don't want to do. So I think that's like another really cool thing for people to look into, to find out what their human design is and see if you can work with that as much as you can in your life, because then you'll do stuff that lights you up all the time.
Okay.
Do you remember what yours was?
No, but
I think you're a manifester. But you just don't care about any of that stuff. So
not really.
I do. I'll look it up for you.
Do it if you want.
I just love star signs, astrology, human design, healing. And Tom's like, yeah, no, I'll write and watch jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. No, anyway. I don't know. I think there's a place for it. But when I was counseling, I was seeing some people that were really into it all and were just.
Okay, this is a good point. You're going to.
A mess.
Yeah.
Total mess. Because they were trying to find themselves externally. Yeah. Oh, I saw this street sign, so that means I'm this, or I'm this design, so I must be this. Where if you just bring it, I just feel like human beings are so, I'm very big on science. I'm very big on spirituality in a sense of connection to self, you know, but all of the little things, and I'm ignorant because I haven't looked into it much, you know, and there are certain things that you tell me from books you read and people you speak to that are amazing, you know, but I'm just, I don't know, what really helped me in my own life was first principles. And, you know, if you're looking for answers outside of yourself, I just think you're doomed to fail. And when it comes to things like human design, and again, I'll stress that I'm ignorant on this because I haven't looked into it anywhere near as much as you have, but any kind of, label association, well, I'm a manifestor, therefore I'm A, B, and C, you know, in my opinion, isn't that far different from 1950s. Well, you're a woman, therefore you must like to do the laundry all day. Yeah. Or you're a woman. Well, obviously you're not fit for a job. Or, you know, if you're a man, well, therefore, it's not right for you to cry or whatever it is, you know, just whenever you're given a label, we are so good at adhering to that label. And my own life, it was OCD and anxiety and panic attacks.
Yeah.
And I was so good at attaching myself to those that the healing, for everyone listening, I'm doing the rabbit ears, quote unquote, was actually moving away from that stuff, because initially it provided a hell of a lot of reassurance. And that was really good because I no longer felt alone. But long term, I was just stuck in that mind space.
Yeah.
And it was annoying, so, but again, from what you have told me, there is a lot of truth to those things.
Yeah, I mean, I love it, but I can also take myself away from anything that I need to. Like, I don't have the personality type where I get so fucking absorbed into something. I mean, I teach breath work, but I make sure people know, well, it's your body, it's your wisdom, it's your rules. I'm not like, I'm the teacher, it's all about them. I'm just there to hold the space. And whereas stuff like they're different in my head, they're tools. But when I read human design, I was like, oh my God, like someone understands me. Like I feel heard and seen, and it just made sense to me. And it kind of confirmed the stuff that I say and do. That's like, yeah, cool. Well, this is the way I am. I don't get lost in it. Like when I had anxiety and depression, I didn't even know I had it. Like that's how much I don't get lost in shit. Like you had to tell me.
I know. Yeah, you thought it was a funny turn.
Like I didn't even know I had a panic attack. I'm like, oh yeah, I just had a funny turn. That's how I know that I can look at this stuff and not get lost in it.
Yes, you're very good at that. You've always been very good at that, because I think you've had that, tougher, for lack of a better word, upbringing that's grounded in being grounded, responsibilities, routines. I have to get this done throughout the day, otherwise whatever stuff won't happen. But it always comes back to balance, doesn't it? It's not like
always.
when you talk about human design or astrology or whatever it is, you're not saying this is where you line up, so this is who you have to be. No. This is where you line up. This could be a tool to greater knowing. Yeah. It's true. I would always get lost in stuff.
Yeah. Whereas I know, like you get lost in conspiracy theories. You get lost in listening to politics all the time. Like I don't even look at that shit. It's just stuff. Exactly. That's what I mean. But I love the spiritual tools. I love that. I love suggesting people look at it as well. Whereas I couldn't give a flying fuck about politics and what's happening in America. Like I just don't care, this, but I always say to you as well, this what makes the world interesting, because not everyone is the same and has the same values and agrees. I mean, we disagree on a lot of stuff, and this is why it's cool, because we have really cool conversations like this, because you're not into the stuff I'm into, and I'm definitely not into the stuff that you're into, so we have great conversations about it because we have very different views on things as well.
Yeah. And a perfect example as to how not into politics and culture you are is the fact that you mentioned that I'm into conspiracy theories. And
you like going down, you like looking into
I like looking into different points of view and stuff. But it's just so funny that you would say those two together, because it shows me that you're not into it at all, because people would hear that and go, conspiracy theories, politics, QAnon, which is like the whole, do you know QAnon?
No.
So good.
Yeah, cool.
It's that really funny right wing conspiracy theory about the whole coronavirus being out to get everyone, and there's no such thing as the coronavirus. And I don't actually know too much about it, but it's
definitely not talk about that on this podcast, because I don't want it to get put aside.
Yeah, no, it won't. But it was just funny that you mentioned those two at the same time. But yeah, when I was younger, I used to watch all these 9/11 conspiracy theories and
that's what I meant.
JFK. Yeah, so I can get lost down that stuff for sure. But back to your point. I like that point where you just said it's cool that we have different ways of looking at the world. And I think for me anyway, especially in the beginning, and again, a lot of this was embedded in the anxiety that I was dealing with. It was hard for me to live with someone who had such a different way of looking at the world. Not values. You and I have always had the same values.
Yeah.
And I really believe that if you can enter into a relationship where you both have the same values, your values are going to be the thing that ultimately direct and navigate your lives together. Because values are the deepest things for individuals, so if you have good values, if you have the same values, I should say, that's always a really big positive in my opinion, you know, and that definitely coincides with what they talk about in the Gottman Institute. But yeah, now I love you. I mean, you almost get annoyed at me sometimes for, you know, what you feel as pushing back. But in my mind, and I could probably do it less aggressively, but in my mind, I'm just so fascinated at how someone who I know to be very educated and a really deep thinker could have the completely opposite point of view from me, you know? So I love talking with you.
I know. And I just like to get the point out, and there's no need to
Move
discuss
on.
it any further. It's done. This is my point. We don't need to talk about it.
That's right. That's right. But I like to talk about it, Von.
Yeah, it is. It's good. Communication is key, as they say.
That's very true. It's very true. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So when's the next book out?
Well, I'd like to have it out hopefully in 6 months or so. I should do some marketing around this one. I just want people to read it. You know, it's just it just warms my heart when people read. You know, I'm not into it to make the money. I'm certainly not saying that wouldn't be a bad thing, because the more money, the merrier when we live in the economic system that we do. But yeah, just I love deep, interesting conversations. That's why I love to podcast as well. You know, when someone says to me, "Oh, I read your book," and you know, not even just it was great, because you know, that's amazing. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But, you know, why do you think about this? Or, you know, why was Hinduism so important to you? You know, why was Buddhism so, like, I just am very humbled by that when people take the time to read my work and are interested by it. Because you know, when I read the books that I read, all I want to do is talk about them with the author. You know, I would love to get Russell Brand, Jordan Peterson, you know, some of these people on the podcast and just have these conversations with them. You know, I think it'd be amazing. And that's ultimately what I want. But yeah, my next book is actually all about trauma and addiction, and it's finished. And I think in about 6 months' time it should come out. But it's a fascinating, you know, topic there: trauma and addiction, and you know how it affects us and our ability to remain stable. And you know, have you spoken to people about addiction on your podcast?
I don't think so. No, because it's not something that I really, you know, it's not one of my things that I look into, or in terms of when I do breath work and things, it's not come up. I talked about it with Ryan. I think he was episode 4 or 5. Of
course. Yeah.
I did. It just came into my head. Then I was like, who have I talked about it with?
Yeah. Well, it makes so much sense. You know, when we are traumatized and we're trying to seek experiences that are better than the way we feel all the time, we're going to get addicted to things that make us feel good, whether it's porn, sex, gambling, food, people, experiences, dissociations, healing, the healing work. Oh my God, yes. People get so addicted to the healing journey. There's something wrong with me. I have to get better. Yeah. And that perpetuates the cycle. And ultimately, at the end, it's very much just total acceptance of being utterly flawed, but being cool with that.
Yeah, we're also integrating the healing. Like I always say this to breath work, like my clients, it's like, yeah, but did you integrate anything that the breath showed you? You know, are you just going to get the same session over and over again because you're not integrating the stuff that's come up? So it's constant improvement, not working.
Yeah. That's a hard part, isn't it, though? Integrating it. Do you feel that? You feel that's
not for me. I think that I find it fun. I'm obsessed with it, as you know, but I love jumping into a breathwork session and be like, oh, what's going to come up today? You know, apart from the last session that I did, which I posted about this morning, I was like, where the fuck did that come from? You know, that crept up on me like no other. I did not expect that to come through. But that's going to be a really hard integration part. Like it's probably going to be the hardest integration I've actually had in breathwork. But apart from that, no, like straight after the breathwork session, I had the third one where it was like, you know, to speak to Tom. I was like, right, let's go sit down. You know, I love the integration part because that's how you become a better human.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like when it comes through that strongly, it's, you know, there are people that have had psilocybin experiences who have never smoked again. And that's one of the most fascinating trials to come out of America is the psilocybin research with smoking and nicotine addiction. You know, so many people remain sober from nicotine a year after, because whatever comes through, depending on how spiritual, you take things, or, just empirically, the message of how damaging this is to my body is enough to almost provoke someone fearfully into never having a drag again. And sometimes I think, that kind of awareness, when it's really, really strong, psychedelics or no psychedelics, can be some time in solitude, talking with someone, breath work, some of the transformations people have from breath work, even myself included, where it's just like, wow, I can't ever do that again, or I must do this before I die, whatever it is, can be enough to just, change course. And that's all you need.
Yeah, it's so true. So true. And this is like the whole fun in healing as an individual, as a couple, with family. It's powerful stuff.
Hey, Vaughn, what about for you? So, now that breathwork is coming up to 2 years old, so it's 1.5.
Is it? Oh my God. I need to actually check that. I need to check the dates, but yeah.
Siobhan Liu, the breathwork meditation facilitator, is coming up to 2 years. Where would you like to see it in 5 years?
Shit, you've not asked me that. I'm not prepared.
I know.
Just doing what it's doing, just like healing people.
Too simple.
I do though. I just want breathwork to be, and who is it that one of the girls just nailed my business? Just anyone and everyone can do breathwork, no matter like how you spend your weekends. It's I just want it to be accessible for everyone. There's definitely a stigma around meditation and breathwork, like you have to be a certain way or a certain person to do it. And I want to be that person to be like, no, the fuck, you don't. Anyone can do it. Any person, gender, whatever, can do breathwork. I mean, you can do it from the age of 6 years old. So, and breathwork for kids is just so powerful. So yeah, in 5 years, just more people doing it, really.
Okay. So now that we've gone through the lovey-dovey response, let's have another one, Siobhan. What does your business look like? What have you done? Have you written a couple of books? Are you making speeches? How many people have done it? I'm really interested. I'm going to push you.
I know. And this is what me and Anna talked about this morning as well, is like marketing, how we're very different. I'm just like, I'm here with this. It's a medicine. And if you want it, I'm here for it, sort of thing. So I really don't. And this is why I struggle to answer, because I actually don't think about it that far ahead in the future. But it's also very good for me to think about it, how far it's going to be going in that future. But yeah, I would love to give talks to people who want to hear it. And you said to me, would you write a book? And I think I would love to, especially, I'm not going to say what it's about right now, but I have an idea of what I'd make it about. And I think it would be very powerful.
What about by the end of 2021? That's probably a little bit better for you to conceptualize.
Yeah, just
just doing what I'm doing.
That would be my answer.
Scotland and
just keep doing the events.
Just doing what I'm doing, and
it is. I'm upset. I'm so in love with my life and what I'm doing and breath work, and I was helping people, and just honestly, just the way it's going. This was like my vision and my dream, was to have certain amount of events. I actually did not want to do it online, but now I'm doing it online. I'm obsessed with it. It's so lovely. Like last night I had people from like Sydney, Germany, Melbourne in a beginner's class, and I'm like, wow, like just all these people coming together. Honestly, the end of 2021, just reaching more people to do breath work, and just keeping my community, just keeping my community going and serving them. That is the goal.
That's it. Good goal. I like that goal.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, by the end of 2021,
yeah,
I'd like to have my blue belt.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. That's your business goal.
It is my goal to have a blue belt. Yeah, but no, one of the business goals that we have is to make it mandatory for functions and events across Australia, but major events and parties and things, to have mandatory pill testing.
Yeah.
Big on that. That's something that we're pushing for as well. So yeah, just safer, saner drug laws. I think that lots of people, everyone, who is either directly or indirectly affected by drugs would have a lot to thank for, decriminalization as an example, which isn't necessarily, it's not the same thing as legalization, meaning that everyone's just running around having drugs and going crazy on them, and that's amazing. It's not the same thing. Decriminalization is very different, where a lot of the money that we were using from, for prisons we're using, government funded, publicly funded, to keep people in jail for drug offences and now being used for therapeutic practices, and people having the opportunity to seek therapy for minor drug offences and things. And, you only have to look at Portugal and other places in the world to see how powerful that has, I think in 2000, 1% of people living in Portugal were addicted to heroin. Crazy. 1% is a massive number. And 14, 15 years later, I can't remember the stat on it now, but it's so far down. And drug reform, is coming all over the world, but I'm really, really big on that kind of stuff. I love reading about drugs, the war on drugs. And that's kind of what I'd like to do. Just keep working and helping, people at work that are pushing for the same thing.
Yeah, you say we. It's not me, by the way, for people listening. It's the foundation that Tom works for. Nothing to do with me, but I'm all for it. It's amazing, the work that they're doing. So, yeah, cool. And this morning we had a conversation about what we do for fun. What do you do for fun?
Hang out with you.
Yeah.
It's fun. I really love hanging out with you. It's really fun. Like what we're doing right now, we're doing a show, we're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
What I love doing the most is having a coffee on the bedside table, reading, you're next to me, and the two dogs are snoring on the bed. It's like the best shit in the world. I love it because I'm caffeinated and high and I'm getting pumped up reading my book. I know I've got my family around me. That's really cool.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, my life is really fun. I'm really, really thankful for that. I love going to jiu-jitsu. I love doing podcasts. I try to do the things that are really fun.
Yeah,
for me.
Important.
Yeah, I love to read and I love to talk to people. I just love to talk and listen. I'm getting better at listening. But, I am an extrovert. I'm not an introvert by any means. So being around people is really fun for me. So I like to be around people.
Cool. I love that.
What about you, Von?
Well, mine's was, which I, as only realized recently, I'm like, why have I stopped doing this? Is vlogging. Like yesterday, I bought a vlogging camera. I was like, fuck it, I'm just getting it because we vlogged in France. The only reason I vlogged in France is so we could look back. And we sometimes watch them just so we can look back on those memories. So I bought the camera yesterday. I'm like, why have I stopped doing it? So fun for me is vlogging, and that's including vlogging like us. And I've not even had the chance to vlog the dogs yet. So it's going to be cute. And just making memories through vlogging. Like I would get lost in actually doing the vlogs and editing them. Like remember, I just used to sit in France in front of the computer for like the full day and just not move until the vlog was like how I wanted it. And now I was doing it from my phone, and now I actually have a vlogging camera, and my blue light blockers so my eyes don't get fucked up. And I can sit in front of the laptop all day and do it. So I'm so excited to create my first one. So I feel like that's going to be me getting back into the fun side where I can step away from continuously in work mode.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's good. It's just so important to do fun things, because we are going to die at some point, and I would hate it that if I got cancer or couldn't move anymore, that I would look back on my life and realize that I didn't make the most of it.
Yeah, it's a cool reminder. And, I think the best thing we've done recently, for those listening, is get some Post-its, put them on your mirror, wherever you brush your teeth, wash your hands. So you're kind of forced to look at them. I think reminders are really good. That's why I read and why I listen to podcasts. It's not to learn. Some of them are, but most of them are just friendly reminders about my thoughts, my mind, meditations, breath work, the world, all the above. So yeah.
What's I've got my podcaster hat on now, but what's something like a little reminder that you can leave the listeners with?
Well, can I give two? And it would be the two that kind of stand out.
Your show.
Yeah, true. But you just said you had your podcast hat on, so I'm answering. Would be, oh my God, it's totally gone from my head. Everything's a choice. And the other one was Just Keep Living, which I got from another podcast. What was it? Was it the Matthew McConaughey podcast?
Yeah, that's his
one
thing.
And in terms of like every day, like by the end of the day, you can say, have I like fully lived my day? Whether that's play, work, rest, just whatever I wanted to do on that day. Like, have I done it? So when I wake up in the morning, I brush my teeth. I'm like, yeah, I get excited. Like, how can I create my day through choices? I'm like really living my day to the full. So that would be it.
I love it. Well, I have one.
Yeah, go for it.
And Matthew McConaughey, the way he says it is JKL, baby, just keep living.
I love it. We should have put that on there. We'll put it underneath it.
My one is be here now.
Yes, we said that on our walk yesterday.
Yeah.
How you just lose time.
Yeah. All you have to do is be here.
Yeah. We're going to add that
up all the time.
Yeah.
But every problem is solved here. Because then you're not lost in your head. You're just here.
Yeah. And everything is always okay in the moment. Like right now, if you're listening and you're just listening, walking or sitting, like, is everything okay right here, right now in this moment? The answer is always yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, unless you're being bombed or unless you're running away from a tiger or
then you genuinely don't have time to think about right here, right now.
Very good.
If you do have time to think about it, is it okay?
And it's okay.
That's why breath, always bringing it back to your breath. They say it's cheesy, but it's a classic and it's true. It works. The simple things work. So thank you, Tom Ahern, for that amazing conversation. It was lovely to have you back on my show.
I know.
Sorry?
It's good fun.
Yeah, it was always good fun. And where can people find you to reach out, or if they have any questions or want to buy your book?
If you look up But You Never Left on Amazon, that is where you will find my book. The audio version should be up by now. If it's not, just give it a couple of weeks. But it's paperback and Kindle there. So, But You Never Left. Oh, I'll get a thing of it. These are the two. This is the first one, and this is the second one.
And for people listening, you're just going to have to jump on YouTube.
Yes, exactly. Like that. So the spine was the same. Oh, hang on. It's probably better like that, isn't it?
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Very proud. Very proud.
Yeah, you should be. You wrote 2 books, third one coming out soon. Cool. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Go and buy Tom's book, and any questions, any questions that you have for us about anything we've talked about, please reach out, because we love, we love people's questions and responding, and that's what makes it fun. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Tom, for the amazing conversation, and we will chat again soon. Bye, everyone.